Alina Habba decided to go ahead and shoot her mouth off before she even knew what she was talking about this week. On Monday, shortly after the United States Supreme Court issued their immunity ruling in favor of Donald Trump, I guess, Alina Habba was immediately on Fox News within minutes of that decision coming down and offered up her opinion, even though she freely admitted she didn't even read it yet. In fact, even if she had wanted to read it, she didn't have time to do it, but of course, that didn't stop her from completely misrepresenting what is actually in that opinion. Here's what Habba said. She started off by saying, "Obviously, I haven't read the decision as it just came out and I've read little parts of it. Here's what I think. I think that the justices made the right decision." Now, before I continue, let me just put into context what just happened. She's called on the air, like, "Hey, immediately talk about this decision and what's in it." And she's like, "Well, I haven't read it, but here's everything I think." Like, at that point, Fox News should be like, "Well, just hold up then, stop." Like, no. Why do we want to hear from you when you don't even know what's in it? And as I said, she then went on to completely misrepresent what is in the ruling. She said this: "Absolute immunity is important for all presidents. I've said it time and time again. I've argued on immunity for President Trump, and I think they did get it right, that they recognize absolute immunity exists. Another thing that I do think needs to be pointed out is that they said presumptive immunity exists for acts within the outer perimeter of his official acts. So what's going to happen now is that they basically have said, 'Sorry, Jack Smith, you don't get to just impede and intrude on the executive branch. We get to have protections for presidents who are doing things while they're in office so that they don't come out and get targeted and criminally and civilly sued. It's incredibly important. It was a good decision.'" But you're misrepresenting what that presumptive immunity means. Even John Roberts, writing in his decision, specifically talking about Donald Trump trying to influence Mike Pence to reject the Electoral College votes. He even said that goes back to the lower courts. Even though he has the presumption of immunity, that will be for the courts to decide. So no, that was not the Supreme Court telling us, "Sorry, Jack Smith, you don't get to do this." And that's honestly, like, I talked about this at Ring of Fire, kind of angers me, I'll admit, that everybody, even the legal scholars that I routinely quote here, have told us, like, "Oh my God, this is like the end of the world," basically. It's not. It genuinely is not, folks. This might be like the best thing we could have hoped that this particular Supreme Court would hand down. Because the presumption of immunity is left for the courts to determine, including, as I mentioned, Trump trying to get Pence to overturn the results. Do you know what that means? That means that the court, the appellate court in DC that already told Trump you're not immune, they get to have the final decision on whether the presumption of immunity exists there. And if they say it doesn't, then he can be prosecuted for it, okay? That doesn't sound like the end of the world to me. Does it sound like it to you? Does it sound like the court said, "Jack Smith, go, sit on it and rotate"? No, that's not how I'm reading that. Kind of sounds like the court says, "Hey, that court that already screwed Trump over once, they get to make the final decision." Okay? So I'm not exactly too worried about that. And I've never been accused of being an optimist, but I mean, let's be real here. I know we're all kind of freaked out still from last week's debate performance, so everybody's on edge a little bit as it is, but this decision was not the end of the world, and it sure as hell is not as good for Trump as these people like Alina Habba continue to tell us. But that wasn't the end of her lies either. She then said, "I think the American people think that these cases should never have existed. Let's just be clear." Yeah, let's be clear about that, huh, Alina? Poll after poll after poll, every poll on this issue showed that a majority of the American public does believe that Donald Trump should stand trial. Majority of the public does believe that Donald Trump broke the law. So you're lying. Like, most of the public doesn't think this should happen. Bullcrap, because the polls show that a majority of people do think that it should happen, and a majority already think that he's guilty. So if you're going to wax intellectual about polls and court decisions, I suggest you get your facts in order first, maybe take a few minutes to actually read the decision next time so that you don't come across as such a blithering idiot. Hey everybody, I don't know if you've noticed this, but we are closing in on a pretty major milestone here at Fair and Balanced as we approach 500,000 subscribers. But we're not there yet, and we definitely need your support. So if you're not already, please do subscribe to the channel, and don't forget, like and comment on the videos and share them as widely as possible.